Hi everyone, I'm here with Ritika Gunnar from IBM. Ritika, first of all, welcome to the Ravit Show. It's your debut.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm a huge fan, by the way.
Thanks, Ritika. That's coming from you. To be honest, I've been following you on LinkedIn since a while and all the great things that you're doing.
And same here.
So, thank you very much for chatting with us today about various things. I'm excited to chat about. I know you're working very much in depth in AI. A lot of things that you're doing in the AI space, AI agents, AI assistants. So, I'm excited to talk about that. But just for audience, before we get into all the fun stuff, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us more about what you do at IBM.
Oh, sure. So my name is Ritika Gunnar, and I run our product for data and AI business at IBM. I think of myself more of a data and AI enthusiast. Like I've loved working in the AI and the data space for decades,
Yeah.
and it's something that I'm pretty passionate about, and I love that I get to do that at IBM.
That's awesome. I'm also curious because I know you work very closely in the space of AI. There's one question that I always also get from the enterprise leaders out there, maybe the regulated industries or the other industries, and they ask us that, Ravit, I'll ask you the simplest question about AI assistants and AI agents. What's the difference? What do you think is the difference?
I really believe that we're at a deep inflection point. AI assistants have been around for over a decade now, and when you think about AI assistants, it is about it is about a capability that can help a user be able to
Yep.
do their job.
Yep.
But the thing is that you are creating an orchestration engine on the back end where you're detecting intent. And at build time, and I think this is the difference, before it even is in the runtime, at build time, you are programming predetermined which workflow you want it to take depending on the intent detected.
Yep.
Now, the difference with agents is because they plan, they act, they observe, and they iterate, they are creating that planning at runtime. And this is the power because now
Yep.
things that used to take users many hours, when you think about the assistants that were built to be able, hours, days, even years to be able to do, now the agent knows how to do. So it's really about productivity savings and about being more accurate even in the intent detection and therefore the workflow that needs to happen at runtime. And this is extremely powerful with agents.
Yeah, that's a fantastic explanation there. And yes, agents definitely has that workflow that they kind of follow as well. So which is very cool. Just a quick question around the user perspective, right? I'm kind of curious to know a little about how do AI agents autonomously perform tasks without continuous user input? How does that happen?
So if you think about the definition of an agent has a set of capabilities where it has a set of tools it can action on.
Yeah.
The planner understands which tools kind of exist, and the planner actually understands based on the intent what tools should be used and where there isn't a tool, maybe other actions that should be taken.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
the planning part of that is really critical,
Yep.
along with the definition of agents, the memory component, which I know we'll get to soon.
Yeah, exactly. No, you mentioned a very good point in terms of the tools that the agents kind of decide to use. I'm kind of curious, how do AI agents use the external tools, but also about the data sources that can enhance their functionality. How does that work?
Well, if you think about it, LLMs themselves actually have a set of public data that they can draw knowledge from.
Yep.
But you can also register with that planning agent a set of tools that either you have built on your own or a set of tools that others may have built in the ecosystem. Think about simple things like web search or like how to do a calculation, which may be difficult for some LLMs, or things that in a demo I showed earlier today where you can actually create a Git issue.
Yep.
These are all tools that, as long as the agent knows, it can call.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Also, wanting to know, since you mentioned about obviously the memory, right? So I'm wanting to know also a little about the role of persistent memory play. How does that play in effectiveness in the AI agents?
Well, for those of you that think about memory, we've all heard about RAG, right? What
Right.
is RAG? RAG is a form of memory
Yeah.
And when you store that inside a vector database, you take your embeddings and you store that in terms of a vector database, it gives you better relevancy
Right.
and better accuracy as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
So, when we think about memory, there's short-term and long-term memory, but it becomes really important where the memory aspects of things, whether you're talking about vector embeddings that are stored in a vector database, they really help with relevancy and the accuracy of the outcomes that you're actually driving.
Yeah, no, I think 100% I agree and love that point. I'm also curious to know a little about, the risks. Like I talk to enterprise leaders and they also tell me that with AI implementation is fine. We understand AI agents. But what about the ethical risks? What about, the governance? How does that kind of play a role?
There,
Anything that you would like to
there
share?
are a couple of things. Look, the models themselves need to have prompting or guardrails
Right.
to be able to adhere to things that, whether it's personally identifiable information, don't give that out, put guardrails on that. Whether that be like be able to have hate detection and profanity and make sure that AI is not doing that. There's a set of capabilities where you need to be able to guardrail your AI capabilities in the right way so that it's being used for the right ethical purposes with the right kind of outcomes you intend. And that's why we see a big investment with IBM as well in terms of what we're doing around guardrails detection, what you do to be able to enforce that as generative AI is running.
Yeah, very true. And talking about IBM and obviously the things that y'all are doing in this space, I feel I talk to a lot of customers, a lot of enterprises who also use IBM, right? I feel I'm kind of curious to learn a little about what's your thought process or the strategy for IBM when you all work with clients and agents kind of come into the role. How does that work? What's the positioning there?
Look, from our perspective, one of the critical things we want to do for our clients is solve the most important problems where they can be applying AI. And so there's a number of use cases where we see, look, it isn't just about creating your own LLM, it's about having a big impact on the outcomes that you generate. And for example, we think about how do you apply generative AI in customer care so
Right.
that the call center, really you're helping the agent become more effective, you're answering your problems more effectively. How do you apply that in productivity? And this is probably one of the number one areas where we see generative AI being used. Things like human resources, what you're doing in supply chain, procurement, finance,
Right.
and
Right.
then IT operations. Think about making your developers more productive.
Mhm.
So all of these use cases are really where IBM is focused. And we ourselves within IBM are what we call client zero. That means we are the first users of it.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's where a lot of our solutions and software come from being really good at driving those kind of outcomes, not only for ourselves, but then we pass that on to our clients.
That's awesome. I think you've kind of made a very important point when it comes to the clients is about be the first user yourself and
That's
then
right.
pass it on to the client because then you'll have all the use case. I know you'll also work very closely with the community to get the feedback and make sure where you'll iterate very much and you're very sure about the product as
Absolutely.
well. So that's fantastic. Ritika, one more question since we are just around the corner of 2025. How do you see what are the trends that you're most excited about? Anything that you would like to share?
I think the proliferation of agents in these domains is going to
Yeah.
be the thing that we're going to see at scale.
Nice.
And the ability to not only deploy them, but then to manage that life cycle, to optimize them become really important. Because if you look at an agent, what does it do? It constantly iterates and gets better and better.
True.
And therefore, if it's calling a model underneath, there are costs associated to that. How are you making that ecosystem drive the most effective outcome in the macro?
Very important.
And then how are you doing that with cost, security, risk? All of this gets more complicated,
Yeah.
but it's also, to me, a huge opportunity and outcomes in terms of what we drive for organizations and how we help them truly innovate their most essential processes. So that's what I think we're going to see.
I love it. I can't wait for 2025 and all the innovations that IBM comes up with. Definitely great chatting with you. Great
Chatting with you
insights.
too.
One last question for you is: I'm pretty sure the audience would want to follow you, keep learning about the things that you all are building. which is the best place? Is LinkedIn, Twitter, which is
Both
the best
LinkedIn
place?
and Twitter, and it's at Ritika_Gunnar.
Awesome. I'm also going to tag you so they can easily
Great.
find you. So this is such a great conversation. I know it's the debut that we
I
did,
love it. Thank you.
but I'm pretty sure we'll keep the conversation going and keep chatting and keep learning from you,
Same.
Ritika.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Such a
Thank
pleasure
you.
chatting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.